Welcome friends to our next video in the current affairs series. Today we discuss the baby steps mining policy in 2020. The title of today's video is Dreaming of a Mining Boom, Artificial Scarcity, Unintended Consequences, Baby Steps, The Way Forward and much more. Today we are going to have a candid heart-to-heart discussion with Biplob Chatterjee. Biplob is a director at GeoValley Exploration Services and has over 30 years of experience of mineral exploration. He has worked for ONGC, he has worked for Geological Survey of India, he has worked for Rio Tinto. Rio Tinto is world's largest mining company, and Biplob has been the head of exploration and exploration manager for India for Rio Tinto. He has worked as a director in Salva Resources and has explored for gold, diamond, base metals, nickel, coal, iron ore, and has led integrated multidisciplinary exploration teams exploring for these minerals the world over. Welcome Biplob to our show. Do you think the 2015 policy has achieved its objectives? The stated objective.
So the stated objective was up to 2015 mineral policy was obviously to increase the contribution of the mineral sector to the economy. Certainly, we haven't seen anything of that part. The unstated objective was to increase the revenue or revenue maximization. There had been at least some commitment through the auctions towards revenue maximization. Whether it eventually converts to absolute revenue maximization is yet to be seen. At least for near term, for short term, the disruption, taking back all the mines, expropriating by all the mines was a disruption, and that will definitely disrupt our supply chain. For sure, and we're seeing the impact of that. These very, very aggressive bidding particularly by the captive users. We have seen the failings starting to happen in the coal sector already, and I would strongly think that even in the mineral sector, it's not going to be successful. See, why would you bid aggressively for an iron ore mine? I mean, we don't have any shortage of iron ore at all in the country. It is an artificial resource scarcity which we are seeing today. Our estimation of iron ore resource in India, the high-grade resource has to be at least 40 billion tons, 30 to 40 billion tons. In Orissa, we have done 3 or 4 major exploration work. I've seen the data. I've seen that every single exploration has increased resources, what was known or reported in IBM, by at least 4 to 5 times. Every single one. So let us say the entire Orissa, what has been reported, you will have an increase of at least a high-grade resource. You'll have an increase of at least 2 times, if not more, if not 3 times, the high-grade resource. Then there is a lower-grade resource for sure. And then, I mean, take illustration of Goa, for example. No exploration has happened. That time, 1962, the resource was 1 billion ton. Today, the resource is 1 billion ton. And we have already taken out many billion tons out of a couple of billion tons out of that. And our estimation in Goa is that right today, Goa should have at least 4 to 5 billion tons of iron ore resource, right? And then there are, obviously, if you're looking at, let us say, 30 years of resource secured, I think many of the lower grade iron ores will become resource. And there are, as we move into 2050s, for sure, trillions of tons of lower grade resources will be available to the nation and to the world. You have a secure resource from Africa. Why do you want to? I mean, we are living in an era of globalization and WTOs. Why do you want to have all the resources exploited from the country? Secure it from West Africa. Secure it from other parts of the world, which you can do, which everybody is doing, which China is doing. Why not? Why this craze after that resource? I didn't understand.
I have an interesting anecdote here. Till about 1990s, 1992, 93, 94. Before that, the technology to recover steel from fines did not exist. So only lump was considered ore. I mean,
there you go.
In the technology, but we had a smart general manager at Baradila who said, okay, even if this is not ore, we'll stockpile it separately. So all the fines were stockpiled separately for a very long time. 5-6 years down the line, NMDC sold about 20 to 30% more than its production every year. So the resource is not just a factor of, there's a dynamic of time in it. changes in technology, changes in prices, substitutions, a lot of increase in let's say price of the commodity, things that affect the resource to reserve conversion.
Absolutely, and I mean the other big one which the nation and the policymakers have to see is that what kind of fiscal environment which we are playing in. And so what it did was obviously under the influence of lobbyists, they had 30% of export duties on iron ore. What that made was, of course, that certainly Goa was the first to be impacted prior to, of course, Goa being declared illegal by Supreme Goan mines being declared illegal by Supreme Court. Odisha, in last 3-4 years, has a low grade. What is that low grade? 55 to 60% is the subgrade. That is called a low grade. 200 million tons of stockpile is there now as the mines are being taken through to the second. 200 million tons. 4 years of production of Odisha is there as stockpile as what? As subgrade, which was not considered resource. Why? Because export duty of 30% make it inevitable for the miners to actually just take out only the high grades and sell it to the market. Is that a good strategy?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
That you are touching upon another part of let's say declared objective of the mining policy called mineral conservation.
Absolutely, you nailed it. This is certainly not. No way. This is conservation. And look, I mean, we call it mineral conservation rules. I mean, from the very inception of mining the country in 1947, where is conservation? The basic fundamental principles of conservation are given a go here. I mean, somebody who. Yeah.
Government looks like the government is bringing, let's say, using policy levers and tools, bringing up distortions in the market. And when let's say, the unforeseen consequences of those distortions become too big, then they create another distortion to correct that one. Why not cure the disease rather than fighting symptoms?
Very true, very true. And this is where we need to have, that's precisely. I mean, so the decision makers are actually accountants and engineers, as I said, rather than economists and scientists. I mean, economists and scientists would be able to look at long-term and sustainability. This is important. Everything has value. Everything in nature has value. Everything. I mean, circular economy is something which we should have thought long time back. Long time back. Now we have to. With so much of knowledge, if we don't think of circular economy, we are, and any fiscal policy, any economic policy, any fiscal policy or taxation policy which you have has to take care of this one. Should be a no-brainer and should be compromised upon. And certainly, sustainability and circular economy should be the prime motive of any mining.
What do you think would be the policy changes that the government should bring in to enhance exploration? I mean, essentially, we are talking about only 5-6 mineral: iron ore, chromite, bauxite, manganese. But worldwide, majority of exploration happens in gold and base metal and uranium. Obviously, uranium is out of purview in India, but at least gold and base metal should be focus of the exploration policy levers. What do you think needs to happen?
A few basic things. I mean, who should explore? So what commodities, bulk commodities, do we need to explore? Yes, we need to explore. Let's take the non-bulk commodities. So let's take the base metals, the gold, the PGEs, the rare earths, all those things. Do we have an exploration potential in the country? We have significant exploration potential country. You and I know that. I mean, if just a neighboring district, let us say, if you just bring back India into pre-Gondwana land times, the neighboring in the Ilgan Craton and the surrounding, the Western Australian Shield is having one of the largest deposits of lithium in the world, and India, just a neighboring one, it's a very, very similar geology, has nothing to talk about. It's an anomalous thing, isn't it? It's a huge anomaly, and that anomaly is potentially a bit of a policy anomaly we're facing. So what do we need to get back exploration into India? Certainly get best of the explorers. Do we have those best of the explorers in the country? As individuals, yes. But as investors, as institutions, as organizations who have cumulatively good exposure management strategy or experience or capabilities? No, we don't have. We've got finest of the geologists, no doubt about it, but we don't have that experience in India as organizations. So none of our companies, except to a certain extent Vedanta, and Vedanta does not have any greenfield success. But Vedanta has got a spectacular brownfield success, without a doubt. They're very good in brownfield exploration, no greenfield success yet. NMDC, again, very similar, excellent miner, top miner, without a doubt. Not much of success in exploration. I mean, except for, of course, things which you guys achieved, sure, but not a very great, spectacular thing to achieve. GSI is one of the finest organizations, without a doubt, and the date in terms of baseline data collection. That's a core strength. Baseline data collection is science part. Are they explorers? No, they are not. They are not explorers. So we have to get the best explorers in the country. If you want to get the best explorers in the country, what do you then need? You have to absolutely allow them to select the area. Give them all the data, allow them to select the area. Number one, don't give them 500 blocks. Let them select 500 or 1,000 or whichever block they want to do. That is a mistake we are doing, that we are saying, this is the block, please explore. No, please allow an explorer to select the area. Number one. Number two, when they select the area and explore, they are taking a risk. 1 out of 100 or maybe 1 out of 500 will be converting to a mine. They will be putting a lot of money there. Allow them, if they are successful, to take it to mining, meaning give them the security of title and security of tenure for the entire life of that particular asset, whichever it is. And the third one, allow people to trade in mineral assets. The mineral assets start creating values right from exploration stage onwards, right? Otherwise, it's just a real estate. A piece of real estate, when we do exploration, becomes a mineral asset. Allow that to be traded so that other investors come in. It's traded between investors of mineral assets. So allow that for sure. But then this will bring you at par with normal mineral jurisdictions. It will not make you competitive, because the exploration investment pot is finite. If you want to make your mineral jurisdiction competitive, where you snatch investments from Peru or Canada or Australia or Western Africa or Southeast Asia, you have to make it attractive, competitive. Incentivize exploration. Obviously, fiscal incentivization. Make that. That is absolutely number one. Make your capital market. I mean, can we do that? I mean, we have just created NACRI and IMIC, but our SEBI has to accept it. So what Deccan Gold has done it in the stock market, can another 100 companies be created like TSX, the way we have seen in TSXV and Australian Stock Exchange? So can that happen in India? Yes, Indians are very smart investors, but allow them to do that. Allow them to invest in the exploration, the mining properties. Create the right ecosystem for that. And likewise, I can go on and on. You have to make it competitive. For sure. We got in terms of database, we got a finest database. Release that data in the public domain. We still haven't released the geophysical data in the public domain. Release that data in the public domain for smart geologists to see and find out what is an exploration potential area. That's the way we discovered Banda. That's the way many of the discoveries happen around the world. A Voices Bay or a slave Creton, and those are things happen with that kind of thing. Had that kind of data. Or Bronzewing Jandi Nimeri of Western Australia. Yeah.
I was speaking to another colleague, a CEO of another exploration company, Canadian, and he told me that for him to be able to ever consider a jurisdiction outside North America, he spent his 50 years of his life in North America. For him to consider moving, or let's say even consider any jurisdiction for investing or taking a property outside North America, the entry barrier has to be very low. So what is your take on that, and what do you think are the entry barriers in India?
How do you define entry barriers is the question. I mean, so one is, of course, how quickly can you establish a business in India? Prime Minister says ease of doing business, and there has been significant easing for sure over a period of time. We have seen that. So some of the entry barriers have been have been reduced significantly. But then there are more. The other entry barrier could be what kind of taxes we are looking at. That is one. The third entry barrier could be, are there human resources in country available? That is number three. Then other one is the data, is the baseline data available to me easily? I think base data is available. Is that easily available? Significant part of base data is available through GSI's portal or IBM or some of the state portals, but there is more to do that. What is the permitting process? Another big issue with us is our permitting process is extremely long, and our regulation post permitting once you get it is very, very lax. Exactly the opposite of what it should be. The people would like to have a very structured, systematic, and predictable, rational permitting process, and regulation. Good companies would like the regulations to be strong, so that they have level playing field here. Here, the regulation is very, very discretionary. I mean, somebody can, for the same application, company A can get a permit, whereas for the same application in the same area, probably the company B will not be getting the permit. And we are seeing some of those illustrations. I don't have to take that. This is entry barrier. These are all part of entry barriers per se.
With this auction process and nationalization, expropriation, and like Deccan Gold Mines being a public company, they have to come out with public reporting regularly. What signals are we giving at the moment to foreign investors or even Indian investors? I mean, I know a lot of Indian investors working with some of them who are looking at assets overseas.
I think the only signals we are saying that we intend to, we want them. However, we are confused. We are taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward, another 1 step forward, 2 steps backward. That's the kind of thing which we are doing again and again. I mean, these are half-hearted measures. Go ahead, trust the investor. Go ahead, allow them to do it. Why allow them only 500 blocks? Allow them the entire OGP areas of the country. Declare no-go areas up front. What is the problem in declaring no-go areas upfront? Say this area is environmentally sensitive, we will not allow you. Say this area, this is areas of critical minerals, strategic mineral for the country. We will do it ourselves. The nation will do it ourselves. But remaining OGP area, 2 million square kilometer of OGP area, free that up. This is for exploration. Free that up. When it comes to mining, have a good systematic structured permitting rules. But thereafter, when it comes to regulation, be on top of that. Absolutely. Don't let anybody pollute the environment. Don't let anybody getting away from manipulating the community. No. Whereas we have probably exactly the reverse. So I think the signals we are giving is that we want it, but we are giving it in fits and start. What do we have in advantage? We have got a fantastic geology. Advantage number one. We've got a fabulous market. On the other extreme, at 2 extremes, we've got a fantastic geology, we've got a great market if we produce something. In between is to be addressed.
So it looks like from intention to policy, from policy to law to regulations to implementation.
You nailed it.
Things
you nailed it.
Standing on their head.
You nailed it. Absolutely.
So the implementation has the exact opposite effect of what the policy intentions are. So friends, that was Biplob Chatterjee offering his candid opinion on the state of Indian mineral industry, and not only being critical but actually showing the way forward. Policy makers and stakeholders must take such suggestions very seriously. In our candid discussions, we deduce that the mining law of 2015 has failed to deliver mineral development, but it has extracted promises of high revenue sharing from potential mine owners by creating artificial scarcity of bulk minerals for industry. Government has created this scarcity by expropriating mining assets that will cause disruption in raw material supply. Now, captive users tried to overcompensate by very aggressive bidding for coal and iron ore blocks. Iron ore scarcity in India is totally artificial. There are at least 30 to 40 billion tons of high-grade resources. In near future, trillions of tons of lower-grade resources can become available. This, coupled with Indian companies going overseas and securing mineral assets, definitely points to self-sufficiency in iron ore. A few years back, under influence of lobbyists, the government imposed 30% export duty on iron ore. The thinking there would have been very logical, but there were some unintended consequences of this policy. One major unintended consequence was stockpile of large ore suddenly became uneconomic. These were high grade 55% to 62% ore that suddenly became uneconomic because of the 30% additional export duty. This is a huge act of value destruction. Just the state of Orissa has over 200 million tons of plus 55% iron stockpile. Worldwide, this would be considered a high-grade ore, but because of the high export duties, such huge stockpile has suddenly become uneconomic and is now called subgrade. So essentially, an unintended consequence of the taxation policy created or turned a valuable commodity to waste. Our mining laws are actually called mineral conservation and development rules, and this nomenclature has been there since the first edition of those laws. So the laws since independence were aimed at conservation and development, at promoting merchant mining in India, not just captive mining. The value added industries are actually buyers of this material. The mining industry is not just a captive resource for mineral based industries, but a merchant miner creates many different products from the same mine. Now each product would be suitable for different mineral based industries. If the mine is treated purely as captive, then only one of those products will become useful. All the other products will become waste because that particular mineral industry does not need it. This is what is the essence of mineral conservation. Extend as much as possible the available resources and convert them to reserves. Now, actual implementation of the policy is having the exact opposite effect of conservation. Biplob raises a very interesting and thought-provoking point. Our policymakers act like accountants and engineers rather than economists and scientists. This is no disrespect to any profession. All professions are relevant. But what he is trying to bring into focus is the long-term and strategic thinking of all the possible consequences is totally absent in our policy-making circles. And therefore, the policies are implemented without regard to long-term effects and have such unforeseen consequences which are often disastrous and value destructive. To kickstart the dead exploration industry, we need to get the best explorers back to India. We need to allow them to select their own area. We need to give them the security of title and security of tenure and allow them to trade equities in mineral assets. Exploration is a valuation business. It's not a revenue generating business. Exploration companies never generate revenues. They only make money in capital gains with high risk venture. It's akin to a real estate project where there is a price to a land, but when a builder builds a foundation, the value of the plot of land increases multiple fold related to the price of the foundation. Similarly, as the building gets constructed, the total value of the property increases multiple fold more than the cost of construction. This is in essence the exploration industry. A piece of real estate, which is a greenfield exploration property, the exploration company acquires a license to explore. They do some geological work on it. The value of the property increases multiple fold compared to the cost of the input. To get to the next stage, like a builder sells some of the apartments, the mining industry sells shares in this property at a higher valuation than on which they had acquired. This is how the exploration industry works the world over. So the regulators need to allow these basic business requirements for exploration industry for it to start. This is what this does, is brings the industry at par with the global standards. But we need to incentivize the exploration industry through fiscal, taxation and capital market tools. We have a vibrant capital market. We have smart investors. Let the exploration companies trade and raise money. Canada has done this, and now there are over 2,000 companies like Deccan Gold Mines in India trading on Ventures Exchange. They have a special exchange. In fact, explorers world over raise money on the TSX Ventures Exchange even for non-Canadian projects. And investors from world over prefer TSX Ventures for high risk investment. Entry barriers for explorers is high in India. The policymakers need to lower barriers by ensuring quick permitting, availability of basic data, and tax incentives. Exploration companies do not mind strict regulations with lower entry barriers and predictable implementation of rules with level playing field. The current jurisdictional setup has set up high entry barriers and lax regulations, which is just the opposite of what exploration industry likes. So our policy ends up giving mixed signals to investors. Positive intent but confusing laws. Biplob brings up a wonderful idea. Why not map out country-wide delineate no-go areas? Areas that are environmentally sensitive, that are strategically important, predefine and put it on a map. These are the areas we don't allow exploration, we don't allow mining. So industry would have a clear direction and would not be afraid to invest in an area that would be later on, after investment, be declared a no-go area. And rest of the countries thrown open to explorers. Geological Survey of India has demarcated obvious geological potential areas. These can be opened up for explorers. Even non-OGP areas can be opened up for explorers. It is their decision if they want to take a higher risk and invest in an area with lower potential. Maybe they make some discovery, maybe they look at the area from a different point of view that we have not thought of before. Hundreds of examples around the world of that happening. Now we must leverage our excellent geology. Our landmass sits in the middle of two highest prolific mineral belts in the world, Ilgran province and Western Australian Shield on the east and East African Shield on the west. So we have an excellent geology and we have a vibrant capital market to create a large industrial boom in the mining industry. Let us use it. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. Please also do subscribe and encourage us to keep producing such videos. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.